evening. I am here to drop in with you all for our final week of the Aries Point. I can't believe we're already at that stage. It's pretty wild. This is day 36 of our 40-day journey where we've been working on a little road opener action. Hello, good to see you. I got your package. Thank you so much. And I'm excited to drop in and read for you this Thursday, right? This Thursday, I think, is when we are scheduled. So yes, everything is lovely, and thank you so much. I really appreciate more goodies, more self-care goodies, and oh my gosh, the Cobra earring. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. Is it tomorrow? I thought we had it for Thursday. Yeah, isn't today Tuesday? Yeah, today's Tuesday. Scared me for a minute there. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, so we're going to do our little weekly forecast, okay? And this is for the collective. It's for all signs. We are shuffling for Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Ophiuchus. Hey, Ophiuchus, I have a spring fever wild card love read coming up for you later tonight, so be on the lookout for that. Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Okay, so all signs, all placements. I'll call out the signs as they come in. It's for any significant placement. Remember, this can also be the house, so that really opens up the playing field. I find if you just tune into the messages with your own intuition, you'll know how it's speaking to you. Do keep in mind I'm reading for a collective, so lots of different stories come in. Not everyone is going to be for you, but I speak to all of them because somebody needs to hear it. I do have an opening download. We had Kintsugi come in, and I don't know if you all are familiar with Kintsugi. But Kintsugi is a Japanese art form where they work with things that have been broken and repurpose them using gold to bring back together what was shattered. They do it with pottery that breaks, or they do it with, plates, china, things of this nature. And it's really beautiful. It's broken, but all of the broken spots where it's been joined are fused together with gold. And it really makes me think of alchemy work. And this last week that we're heading into, our entire focus is on receiving. So what we're going to be doing is working on cracking open, okay? And this is where it can start to get a little bit sensitive. This is where you can have a lot of emotional release. And I think the collective is already kind of at that point, just with what's going on astrologically. A lot of people are finding that things are like coming to a head in their lives. A lot of people are in a position where they're seeing where there's inequities in their lives, where things are really out of balance and they can't maintain things as status quo anymore. Something's got to give. It's big, something's got to give kind of energy. This feeling of needing to redress the balance, needing to speak to it, not being able to hold it in anymore, not being able to toe the line. There's a lot that's kind of coming forward about situations where there's a lack of fairness, where one person is kind of carrying more of the weight than the other, and this is being expressed in all kinds of dynamics. It's coming out in interpersonal relationships. It's coming out in your work situations. In fact, I heard the Dead Kennedy song, Diary of a Mad Scientist. And in that song, there's a place in the song where there's a buildup of the energy. And it's basically talking about, you go to this job every day and you punch the clock and you feel all this mounting tension because it's like you don't want to be part of this game anymore. And it's reaching the frustration point, and it comes to this place where he says, When will you crack? When will you crack? When will you crack? When will you open your eyes, open your eyes, open your eyes? And it's like that energy is what's kind of like coming forward. And it's being expressed in many different ways, but I do feel this energy. I don't know why, but I'm feeling it like really like economically, like it's coming to a head for people around finances. It's coming to a head for people in the work they're doing and where they feel like they're being taken advantage of, or maybe where they're really like towing the line and they're carrying more weight than is agreed upon, more weight than is really sustainable, and needing to speak up about this, needing to, take a stand, not just kind of toe the line. This energy coming forward really strongly. And then even in the midst of that, remembering this like Kintsugi piece, that there might be things that like break this week, there might be things that break this week. But, Jim has been bugging me like, Jim has been bugging me all day. That's why I was leading up to do this live. He's really been coming in. And it makes sense because, like, when the doors were around, it was right at, another juncture where it was the dawning of the age of Aquarius. So, makes sense that Jim would come in. But, he says it's one of those break on through to the other side kind of moments, And sometimes things need to break, sometimes it takes that. Sometimes it takes that, but it's what you do with the pieces. It's what you do when you pick up the pieces, that matters, and how you put those pieces back together, Sometimes it's healthy, to go to a place where you just allow yourself to have that transformational moment of not worrying about holding it inside anymore. And sometimes we purposely put ourselves in those positions by, swallowing our truth or pushing down our feelings for whatever reason, not wanting to get disapproval from others, not wanting to cause rifts, not wanting in some cases to be exposed or to be that vulnerable. But when it gets to a pressure point and you go to that place, it actually can be supremely cathartic, it sets you free. It can be very liberating. So I feel like that's the energy that's kind of coming through this week. And it's so we can get to the heart. So we can get to the heart of the matter. It's almost like there's like too much pretense. There's too much social posturing. There's too many pleasantries. There's too many airs. And it's sort of like, really shaking up this energy, clearing out all the artifice, clearing out all of the sort of like roles we play, the masks we put on, the ways we make ourselves agreeable to situations that we're not really in agreement with. And I feel like this is very much coming forward this week. I couldn't even decide on a light color. So I said, screw it, I'm going to use them all. Because the energy is like that right now. It's kind of like I feel it's at like a flux point. Everything's shifting. Yeah, there's been a lot of disappointment. I mean, I really wish that the collective would stop wallowing. This seems to be like just so forward, man, so forward. And I think it's like at that point where you kind of need to like just break out of this, maybe you need to have that pop off point. Maybe things are going to build to such a head this week that finally all that stuff that you've been holding inside is really going to come up and out because you're not going to be able to contain it anymore. And that might feel a little exposing. That might feel a little rough, but I feel like it's important and I feel like it's valuable, because it's like up and out with it already. You can't sit here and continue to like wallow in the past. People really need to get the energy moving right now. You got to have the strength to do this, collective. It's about, tempering what happened in the past. And, if you need to let it out first with some rage, maybe you do. Maybe you do need to rage into the night. What if that was the very thing, that you finally get fed up with it? Ed just said yes, coming up and out with it and saying no more. What if that's exactly what you need to get to the place where you can experience fulfillment? How many of you are involved in dynamics where you're not feeling fulfilled at all and where you're just there making sure everybody else has what they need? You can't really sit there and feel your disappointment and blame others when you're allowing yourself to be put in that position. It's time to do the work, time to move forward in a new way, time to lay a new foundation. Or sign energy, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Let's get some cards out on the board and just see what's coming in. What is the frequency forecast for the collective this week? What do they need to know? I feel like this is the time where you can't hold it in anymore. It's the time where you have to start moving forward, even if you start small, even if, you're kind of tentatively, taking those first steps because maybe you feel tired. I think a lot of people are feeling this. Oh my gosh, just as I said that, look what turns up right in the middle of the deck, the 10 of Wands. Yes. People are feeling very tired. This might be coming up a lot too for water sign collective. Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio with the King of Cups here. I also feel like in terms of, the masculine, a lot of people are tired of trying to guess what the masculine is feeling. Maybe the masculine doesn't know what the masculine's feeling either, maybe that's why it's such a frustrating situation. Maybe that's why so much is kind of mired down in this inertia because there's no real, coming from a place of emotional authenticity. There's something about this. And I feel like it's not just happening with people around us, it's also within ourselves. Like, where are we not letting how we feel be known? Where are we holding that in because we're afraid of how others might react to that, or we don't want to take the risk to be exposed in that way, or we're afraid if we, speak to what we're feeling that we might wish we hadn't, with that 10 of Wands, we might wish we hadn't. I think a lot of that has to do with concern about reaction around you and how speaking this emotional truth might kind of reverberate in your life, how it might affect things for you. This might be why you've chosen to hold it in. Y'all, I'm telling you, you're not going to be able to hold it in. It's about to pop off. Things are reaching a pressurized point with anything you've been holding in emotionally, that you've been sitting and stewing on, like you're going to need to come up and out with it. Life is going to create a scenario this week where you're going to have to confront the truth, what you're feeling. I really feel that it's coming in super strong. I do feel like masculine is front and center on this. I think that a lot of the masculines have been kind of like holding in, you kings out there, you've been holding in your feelings. You've been afraid to just be emotionally vulnerable. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't understand this mindset that's so forward in society. I mean, I get it. It was like programmed into us, but can we get over it already? That like this idea that men are not allowed to be emotionally vulnerable, that they're not allowed to express their feelings, that this somehow makes them weak or wimpy, and can other men like get on board with that? It's not just the work of like, women understanding this and I think women encourage it. Actually, I think women want to see men express their feelings. I think where men are having more difficulty with it is within their own circles, from their own peers. Other guys have sort of like their own programming around it, and so there's sometimes when other men will shame men who are opening up emotionally, and that really screws things up. I feel like this is reaching the pressure point. Okay. I think that a lot of men out there are feeling like, I can't hold in my emotions any longer. It's becoming a real burden to bear. And this is actually the thing that would move everything forward, is having authentic communication, expressing from the heart center. It makes a difference. Yeah, it's about letting go of that control with the Four of Swords. A lot of times, people will hold in their emotions because they think it gives them some kind of control. They want to come off like, I don't care, this doesn't matter to me. And for some reason, they think it gives off this impression that they're strong when it's actually the opposite. It takes a lot of strength and a lot of courage to like let your heart be seen. And especially when you don't know how that's going to be received. And it's really not about that at the end of the day. It's not about how it will be received. It's about the whole act of taking that emotional risk to put it out there. You see, there's this thing that once you just allow yourself to be seen, once you don't have any secrets, once you allow yourself to be completely exposed, you're totally free. You're totally free. It's the things we hide, it's the secrets that disempower us, that keep us stuck, that keep us in that Eight of Swords energy. But as soon as you take what's been pressurized and you just put it out there, you speak your truth, you speak from your heart, you let people see your emotions, you let them see this matters to me. I care. This hurts. Whatever it may be, I'm angry, you know? But the more that people get real, kind of like take down, take down the drawbridge, you know, let the heart come on through. Stop guarding it, you know? Stop guarding it. It alleviates the burden. And so what? What if somebody doesn't receive it well? So what? At least you're not carrying that burden anymore. You've laid it to rest. And then you can move forward. But this is the work of the moment. This is the work of the moment. This is what we're needing to do with the Eight of Pentacles. It's a time of it needs to come up and out. And if you're in a situation where you're feeling frustrated, or you feel like you can't move forward, or you feel like there's just one block after another coming up in your path, it's about really stopping that internal dialogue that goes into the place of blame, where you start labeling who's the problem in this scenario. And instead you ask yourself, where am I blocked? Where am I blocked? Where am I holding in the energy that needs to actually come up and out? And then you'll start to get things moving. Because if you're experiencing blockage on your path, if you feel held back on your path, it's starting in here. That it always comes back to doing the work within. And that's what shifts what happens without. And we see this coming through really strongly. Air sign collective, Knight of Swords. This is rushing forward to speak a truth. This is, I can't hold it in anymore. I have to say this. I have to express this. I got to get this off my chest. This is where it's at. Knight of Swords charging in. It is impetuous energy. It is coming in with the Page of Wands, okay? This could be a Page of Wands coming in, could be fire coming to communicate with air. We've seen this dance going on for a matter of weeks now, right? Air and fire coming in together. There's a lot of dynamics happening between air and fire right now, right? So this is some message coming in from Fire Collective, okay? Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Looks like air has a truth that they're pretty certain of, and that they have some words to speak to, okay? Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, all right? But this is what gets things moving forward. This is what gets things moving forward. The communication, the speaking the truth, even if some of what needs to come up is kind of fiery, right? If there's some frustration, if there's some anger, you know, whatever it may be, it's having that courage and that daring to be like, okay, I can go there. You got something to say. You need to say it. Let's have it out. Let's have it out. You know, and let's do it the right way too. You know, where we don't try to talk over each other. Where we don't try to talk over each other. There can be the tendency to want to talk over each other because there's been so much held in for so long, you know? And this is what's really going to be key, is having the ability to listen with the moon, you know, lean into the feeling. Don't get so hung up on the words, okay, that people are saying. Understand the energy charge of where their words are coming from. Lean into the feeling. It's about really intuiting, you know. It's not about rushing, clamoring for your rebuttal so you can get your words in. It's not about that. It's about having the courage to listen, especially if somebody has something to say to you that might be really hard for you to receive. I feel like it's going to work both ways. I feel like the first person to be brave opens up space for the other involved to be brave too. And that's where the real transformation point happens. And it was 2022 on the clock when I said that. It's like that 2020 vision. It's like if we only would have seen this back then, that this is all it took. We just needed to sit down and like have a real conversation with each other, drop the bullshit, take off the masks. Who'd have thunk it? We could have saved ourselves a lot of time. So there's going to be a lot of those moments, okay? There's also going to be moments where some of you are going to just straight up, you're going to walk into your job and you're going to be like, I quit. I quit. I'm giving my 2 weeks notice. Bam, you're going to like lay down that 2 weeks notice on the desk and you're going to, feel so much relief from finally taking this action, doing that thing you've been scared to do. Some of you you're still in this place. You're like, I don't know. I'm not sure if this is the right choice. What if this is just me panicking, because I don't know what I should do. And so I make some dumb choice and I end up in the same spot, I landed myself in this last time. I think you're going to feel just so much mounting pressure. You're going to have to do something. All you can do is kind of like make a choice about where you're at right now, and the rest will unfold. There's something about the need to crack it open, release the pressure. And the only thing that releases pressure is to take some kind of action. You got to get the energy moving. You can't hold it inside anymore. So you might not have all the answers. You might not have all the puzzle pieces. Okay. But there's something about if you just sit here, you're going to just move further and further into stagnancy and you're going to miss the boat, full on miss the boat. And you don't want to miss this boat because look what's coming in. This is that place of being in that pre-empress energy. This is being in a very independent, strong, fulfilled energy. This is growth. This is emotional growth. This is spiritual growth. This is financial growth. Okay. This is feeling really good, loving what you're doing on your shit. Okay. You don't want to miss that boat, but you will. You will if you continue to participate in things that are draining the life out of you and you're staying in agreement with it because you don't want to rock the boat or you don't want so-and-so to think less of you or you feel obligated or whatever other nonsense you've told yourself. Look at you. 9 of Swords. Can we get over this? Can we get over this? We need to get over this. It's been that like 5 of Cups, 10 of Wands, 9 of Swords, like forever now. Forever now. At some point, you got to accept, like, it is what it is. It is what it is, and it's up to you to make a different choice. If you're not digging it, then you got to do something different. Stop blaming other people. Stop looking outside of yourself. It's time for you to make a choice, okay? And maybe, just like you're sitting there waiting for other people to make a choice in your life and you feel like, well, it really hinges on what this person does. Did you ever think that maybe those people are also waiting for you to make a choice? It's like everybody, at an intersection where, the traffic lights have gone out and you're all like looking at each other. And, even though you're supposed to know the rules of the road, everybody's trying to, gauge who's going to go first. It's stupid. Just stop wasting time. Take the action. Take the action. It's time to move away from all the stress and all the struggle with the 6 of Swords. Look at you. Look at you, though. You're trying to move forward with those swords. Why are you carrying the swords forward with you? What is that about? What is that about? That's crazy. That is crazy. Don't take the swords with you. And those swords are those things that are left unsaid. Those swords are the things that you have not communicated. They are the very things that are keeping you up at night, that are stressing you out, that have you worried sick. What are you doing? Do you think you're going to be able to have like some beautiful future? If you're dragging that forward with you, you're going to have regret. And life is too short for regret. It's foolish. Life is too short for regret. You don't know how much time you have. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. You don't know how much time you have. You can sit there and you can say, oh, I know I really need to have that conversation with that person, but I'll get to it later. You may never have later. That's the problem. No one here gets out alive, and people take it far too much for granted. They think they have all the time in the world to take care of stuff. You don't. You don't. You really don't. And there's something about that that's really coming through very strongly right now. I don't know what it is. There's something that's like, I think it's going to come forward as sort of like an awakening moment for the collective this week, where it's like you thought you had all the time in the world and you don't. You don't. Something's going to happen that's going to make you realize you really don't. You don't have all the time in the world. And that's when you're going to really see what you're made of, collective. Are you a coward, or are you brave? Are you living from a place of fear, or are you living from a place of love? Because you're going to find out that you do not have all the time in the world. You cannot just put this thing on ice. And for those of you who have kept something like that on ice for a long time, that I really should communicate this, or I really should take this action, or I really should handle this matter, and you've been putting it on ice, it's time to kind of look at, where is that coming from? Is that about controlling situations? Is that about trying to control the narrative? Is that about trying to have the upper hand? Is that why you're withholding? Got the Page of Pentacles here, Earth sign energy, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. It's time for you to educate people about where you're really at and what's going on. You can't like sit there and hold this in. Look, there's heartache around this Three of Swords. You're hurting over something because you thought you would see growth that you are not seeing. And instead of just expressing that to the person you want to express it to, you're wallowing in it. It makes absolutely no sense. It makes absolutely no sense at all. And it's kind of ironic because you're holding it inside, and yet you expressing this and communicating from the heart and being authentic in that way is the very thing that could end this sense of separation you're feeling. People are very strange. Jim? People are strange. People are strange. It's time to look at things in a new way with the Two of Wands, all right? It's time to get a different view of what could be possible. You've been telling yourself stories, and they're all based on fear. They're all based on fear, and they're all based on a sense of loss, and it's holding you up at the crossroads. You have yet to make this choice. You have yet to make this choice with the Lovers. You're staying in a place of indecision. You sit here dreaming all the time. That's all you're doing. You're just dreaming. You're like stuck in your head, stuck in your fantasies, thinking what if, looking back at what used to be. And you're not doing what you need to do to get out of the crossroads, which is Ace of Wands. Take the action. It's only through taking the action that you move yourself out of this place of disappointment and confusion and fantasy to actually get the turn of fortune you're looking for with the Wheel of Fortune. Things get moving. Coming up big for the fixed signs. We've already had Earth coming in very strongly. Reiterated again with Taurus here. We also got Leo, we got Aquarius, and we got Scorpio. This is stuck. This is being stuck. Something's stuck because there's something you're holding inside. It's a burden to you. It hurts your heart. You thought you would see growth in a certain area. You haven't seen it. And rather than communicating about that and how you're feeling about that, and really being radically honest about that and taking the risk to be vulnerable, you just sit and stew on it. And it's not doing anything but hurting you. And yet you're trying to move forward into a new cycle in your life, and you're dragging all this old pain behind you, which means you're going to create more of the same. Bottom of the deck energy. Look at this Libra energy coming out really strong here. Okay. King of Swords. It's about being decisive. At some point you kind of have to look at things very plainly, and you just have to speak the truth. You have to take the risk. That's what the King of Swords does, very decisively. All right. With the Two of Swords here, it's like there's been enough time of holding it in. Look at that. See the water behind the Two of Swords there? That's the emotional waters. Look at that. Holding back the emotions, guarding the emotions. You know, this, when done for too long, can make you go cold, okay? But there's something here that needs to come forward. Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, big Libra energy. Two of Swords is a quintessential Libra card. Also Libra in that air suit there, but also those other air signs coming forward too. It leads to the 10 of Cups. It leads to the 10 of Cups. It leads to the happiness, right? But the problem is, it's interesting because all this struggle seems to be coming in around Earth. I don't get what's going on here. Oh, as the throat chakra closes up, something's going on with Earth. Earth, y'all have been taking way too much time to communicate some truth or to express something that needs to be expressed. And it's the very thing that's causing so much confusion and drama and upheaval with the 5 of Wands here. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. You know, I think that there is a desire to cut off the bullshit with the King of Swords here. Okay? It's in doing so that we get to this place where we can actually have fulfillment, where you can get beyond the storm. You know, on the other side of the storm is the rainbow. There's the promise that things can get better, right? There can be togetherness, but there can't be that if somebody is taking their damn sweet time, because we know with the Knight of Pentacles, this is such a slow moving energy. It's like, yeah, I know what the right thing for me to do is. I know what I should do, but I'm just I'll do that tomorrow. It's just holding it off, and it's causing a lot of problems. And it ain't working for you either. Those of you who are holding it in and just taking your sweet time, it's not helping you either. You're reaching this totally pressurized point. You're at war with yourself. You're at war with yourself. And meanwhile, you have another opportunity to move forward in your life, like Spirit's trying to give you something so you can move forward in a way where you can find your Ace of Cups, your new beginning that leads to your personal fulfillment. And you're being so stubborn. You're being so stubborn, trying to control this narrative by withholding what would bring healing in the situation. Look at that. Stubborn with the 4 of Pentacles. So stubborn. Nope. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to withhold. I'm going to withhold because it makes me feel like I have control. Stealing everybody's time with that 7 of Swords. Right? And here's the thing, where you're dealing with situations like that, collective, where you know that people are just purposefully stalling, holding back, not moving forward, keeping the energy in this stuck pattern. It's going to be up to you to pop off and say no more. And maybe some of you need to say that's just fine. Block and cut it off with that King of Swords energy. And you be the one to be decisive. Because I'll tell you what, slow moving energy like this, it will just wait forever. It'll just wait forever. And did you ever think in some of these situations, whether you're dealing with a work situation or a romantic situation or a situation with your friend or your family or whatever it may be, did you ever think where there's been inequities or where things haven't been fair or there's some kind of gridlock or some kind of, you know, some kind of 7 of Swords shady shit going on? Did you ever stop to consider that maybe there isn't going to be a breakthrough until you pop off and say, no more, I'm getting up from the table. I'm not dealing with this anymore. You want to stay stuck? You want to withhold? You want to play games? You don't want to be real? That's fine. You're allowed to do that. It's your choice, your free will, but I'm not hanging out here anymore. And I'm getting up from this table, all right? You got to trust your gut on this. Look at this. High Priestess to the Hermit. Okay? It's about going your own way. All right? Maybe you need to go your own way. Maybe you need to trust what your intuition is telling you right now. Maybe you need to take the risk and just go your own way for a while. Is that so bad? Is it? Maybe you need to take a stand by yourself. You know? Maybe other people won't agree with you. Maybe they will have a problem with you. And so what? So what? Look, it leads to your happiness with the sun. It leads to your happiness. Any other guidance on this with this particular deck? And then I feel like I might want to pull out another deck here. Any other guidance on this for the collective and the situations they're dealing with? Yeah, I mean, big Taurus energy coming out very, very strongly. The Hierophant. We have to remember it's the Taurus North Node too. Remember the lessons. It's about knowing your worth, knowing your value, knowing where to invest your time, your energy, understanding that your time and your energy is valuable. Time and energy is another kind of currency. Okay. So you have to consider that. You have to consider that even in, I'm going to bring it up again because it keeps wanting to go into that. And I have to say, there's a lot of pentacles on the board here. Money, finances, how you earn your way in the world seems to be very front and center this week. A lot of you are really having that moment where you're like, I can't take it anymore in regard to work matters, in regard to business, in regard to money. A lot of you feel taken advantage of, or you feel like you've been working really, really hard, not seeing the kind of results you want to see. But there's something that you're doing in this situation. You're not being honest about it. And because you are not being honest and forthright about how you're really feeling in this situation, you kind of just keep putting off what needs to be done, what needs to be cut off, so you can actually move forward in a way where you can free up your abundance and land in that 9 of Pentacles energy. I mean, this is what we hope for. This is really doing well for yourself financially, abundantly. And for those who are entrepreneurs who are building their own thing, this is, very successful in your own business. Okay. So if you are at a job that you can't stand and there's nowhere for you to go in that job, there's no growth in that job, and you've reached the ceiling and you're not satisfied, and every day you're getting up and you're miserable because you got to go to this job that you hate. Like, what are you thinking? You got to do something about that. Maybe get your resume out there, start taking some actions, but you can't just sit there and just blame the system, or you got to do what you can do to start moving things forward. Maybe you need to take that risk, to just start your own thing and start small. It doesn't have to be like a huge leap, but there's something about stop looking at what isn't working in your life and being so bummed out about it and complaining about it and blaming it on this person, that person, being so worried about what so and so is doing, and start focusing on yourself and your own life. There's too much focus on other people. There's too much focus on what hasn't worked. There's too much focus on disappointment, and it's silly. It's a time waster. You don't have the time. And if you continue in that place, you're going to find that your opportunities are going to pass you by. And why? Because when they show up, and it's not going to be much longer before they do, stuff's coming in. Stuff is starting to come in. You won't be able to take the opportunities because you won't be ready, because you'll still be stuck in this old job, or you'll still be stuck in this relationship when that person comes around that can really meet you eye to eye. Or you'll still be stuck beefing it out with your friend, and you won't be able to take the opportunity that comes in because, well, your friend's part of that opportunity too, and now everything's really awkward. It's just, you don't understand the way things are going to line up. You don't have time to hold on to this stuff anymore. You really got to settle the score, whatever that may look like for you. And some of you will have a pop off moment. I see it. I see it. I see it. I see some people will be having really harsh words. I see some people will be on the receiving end of some harsh truth. I do see battling of wills. I do see, like, arguments. I do see that is, part of the picture. Not for everybody, but it is coming in for some, where they've held it in for too long. Absolutely. But Spirit is sitting here, saying, yeah, get to work. Get to work. Spirit's sort of like saying, we'll hold up our part, but you gotta hold up your end. This isn't Burger King. You don't get it your way. Especially when you haven't done the work, pay me. It's sort of like that's spirit's currency. You got to do the work, and then you can get the reward. But it's sort of like this is the part that only you can do because it's your responsibility. Let me see. What do I want to pull out here? What do I want to pull out here? So we're in that Mercury retrograde cycle. We're definitely heading toward that time where, people are going to start coming around. People you haven't talked to for a while, it's up to you to really manage how you have your communications. You have to remember to stay in that position where you're not pointing fingers and you're not going into this whole, dialogue about, well, you did this and you did that and you did. It's just like all of that is just avoiding the sensitivity of the heart. All of that is just avoiding where you feel wounded, where you feel hurt. Even with cases of anger, anger is just a firewall for sensitivity, for emotional sensitivity. Usually behind anger, you'll find a whole lot of hurt. You know what I'm saying? Usually behind anger is a whole lot of wounding. So even if somebody's coming at you with a lot of fire, if you can have the kind of self mastery, this person's argumentative, they're yelling at you. Can you have enough self mastery to stay calm and to recognize in that moment, not get activated and go, wow, this person's really feeling hurt in this situation. And maybe just kind of like soften a little bit. Just bring in a little of that kapha energy. That's what kapha does. Kapha grounds everything out. It brings in the water, it brings in the motions, it brings in the softness, it holds the space, it feels grounded, it feels safe. If you are encountering somebody and they're having a meltdown with you, that person is feeling extremely vulnerable in that moment. And so it's a challenge for you. How can you greet it? There's something about if you are really solid in your work and the work you've been doing on yourself, as these experiences come in, there's an opportunity to have transformation in the communication dynamics. But it has everything to do with how you're receiving the communications and how you show up in those communications. And that's when we have alchemy. Because it's amazing what happens when you're having, I don't know if you've ever had a situation like that before, but I have. I've had a situation like that before where the person was bringing me fire. And I was able to stay in a place of just like softness with them and say, I understand how deeply that hurt you, even though that's not what was coming at me. And it was that just bringing that forward is what caused everything, all the borders, all the barriers, everything just to dissolve and the softness to come through. And that was the breakthrough moment. But in order to be able to get to that place, you kind of have to stay out of your need to be right. And you have to stay out of your need to blame. And you have to understand that everybody has their truth in situations. It may not be your truth. It doesn't mean that it's not true for them, and that's the thing that causes problems in any kind of situation where you're trying to heal a connection or where you're dealing with something touchy, there's always this like egoic need to be right and make the other wrong. And we can't move through this cycle like that. It's going to cause more damage. It's going to cause more damage, and it's also going to cause us to miss the opportunity on offer. We've been talking a lot about soulmates coming in, right? We've been talking about this for a while on BroadCoven for a few months now about this time that was going to come where the soulmates were going to start coming in. And they're coming in many different forms. They're coming in the form of old childhood friends. They're coming in the form of your past lovers. It's coming in the form of, that long lost family member you haven't seen in forever. They're coming in the form of a teacher, a mentor, a compadre on your path. Somebody who's going to light something up inside of you. They're coming in many different forms, okay? And you have to be ready to greet them. And you have to understand that sometimes these situations, it's like everybody is like so happy to hear, oh, soulmates coming. But soulmates also require that we have a lot of work to do in these connections. Soulmates come in to help us experience soul growth. So sometimes those dynamics can be challenging. And they're coming in, and it's about really addressing things in a new way, holding a different space. Again, fire sign energy coming in really strongly. Knight of Wands, Kaguya, God the good in himself, protection, prevents discovery of secret crimes, saves, exiles. I like this piece coming in too, where it says prevents discovery of secret crimes. Well, so often people can hold things in too out of a sense of shame. They can be embarrassed to bring forward something they've done. Maybe they're not proud of an action they took. They've been lying about it. They've been hiding some kind of behavior. I'm getting addiction coming in with this as well, like struggling with some kind of addiction, not wanting anybody to know. But if you brought that forward and were raw and vulnerable about that, it might really change things for people. They would go, oh my gosh, I get it. I understand why you've been acting like that, or why we've been having these challenges. And there could be a whole transformation in that situation. Even just looking at something like addiction, that's when you can finally let help in. And that's the thing with anything like addiction, anything we keep secret that we're struggling with. It's the secretiveness that keeps us trapped. Once you release that, that's when you get your liberation. That's when you can actually start to move into healing. And that addiction, or that thing, that secret, that thing you've been hiding because you don't want it discovered, because you're afraid of what people will think of you, how they'll judge you, how they'll react, that very thing can no longer have power over you. It can't have power over you anymore. And so there's also this piece of collective. You might hear some things coming at you. There might be some confessions. Ted just said yes. You might have some people confessing some things to you. And what you hear is very hard for you to hear. And it might make you very angry. But you notice it says saves, exiles. So it's sort of about, you're going to have to be really strong and at least value the effort for honesty and be able to make it safe for this person to bring forward their admission. Okay. Because if you're going to automatically get combative, if you've been wanting to have a healing process with somebody, or you've been wanting the truth for somebody, you open up space for that in conversation, and then you attack them. As soon as they do, you're going to shut it all down. You're going to shut it all down. It takes a lot of courage for somebody to admit they're wrong. It takes a lot of courage for somebody to admit, I made a big mistake back there, and I need to own up to it. I have to tell you the truth. Or I've been holding this in for a long time. I know how I treated you back there, but I really do care. And if you start laying into this person, you start reading them a riot act, you start listing off everything they did to you, you just ruined the opportunity. You ruined it. And that's why it's so necessary. You gotta drop all this old stuff now. It doesn't matter. You're meant to hop onto the new timeline. It doesn't matter anymore. It happened. You can't change that it happened. You can't, it don't matter how much you look at it. You cannot change what happened. So what are you going to do about it? And when you do have an opportunity to heal something, are you going to take that opportunity? Or is your pride more important? Is your ego more important? Is it more important for you to put on your mask and pretend that you don't care about this? That's the work. That's the work. So this is about really making safe spaces to have what can be very difficult communications. I feel like there is going to be some stuff coming forward that's like, oh, not all these communications are going to be fun. Connections can't be healed without honest communication. Absolutely. Absolutely. Otherwise, you're just perpetuating more of the same unhealthy stuff that's going to lead to the same result. And you'll just keep repeating the past over and over and over and over and over and over again. Radical authenticity is the way to go, man. It's the most liberating way to live. When you don't have secrets, when you're not lying to people, when you're not hiding shit, you have true freedom, And when you live like that, maybe, not everybody agrees with you. They might kind of roll their eyes at you sometimes. You might kind of like shock people with some of your stances on things, but you're free. You're free. and nobody can hold anything over on you. And a bird just flew past the window. Like, phew, just did a drive-by, like within inches of the window. Yeah, you're free. You're free. It's secrets, it's lies, it's the things that we hold back, hold in, what we don't realize we're doing when we do that is we're trying to manipulate. We're trying to get control of a situation by withholding. And that never works out well for anybody. It doesn't work out for the person doing the withholding, and it doesn't work out for the people involved in this situation, because when people don't know what the truth is or what's going on, there's nothing but confusion. And then it can cause a lot of messy results. Messy results. Okay, so we need to move out of this kind of guarding the truth. It's like it's sort of time to come up and out with it, collective. Make your plans known in situations where you need to make your plans known. If you have an apology you need to make your apology. If you're angry about something and you feel like I can't move forward until I express my anger, well then do it. Do it. But whatever you do, you need to stop looking back at the past and stop blaming people and stop talking about these people don't know how to do this. These people don't know how to do that. These are the people holding everything up. No, you are, because you always have a choice about whether you sit around and deal with it or not. You always have a choice. You don't have to sit around and wait for other people to figure it out. You don't have to sit around. You don't have to be invested in it. So you can't go and blame other people. And yeah, I'm not saying that people don't do stuff that's, shady, that people don't do stuff that's hurtful, that people don't lie, that people don't manipulate, that people don't pull strings, play games, cause heartache, whatever. They do. Of course they do. There's a lot of people acting out of their shadow right now. It's just where we're at. It's what's going on right now. A lot of stuff is coming out in the wash. But you always have your role to play, and you can't control other people. And the more you sit around and look at this, or the more you tune in on YouTube and you go, oh, I want to watch this reading on what's their karma. What's their karma for hurting me? You're the karma. Like you're screwing yourself. It's ridiculous. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The more you focus on your own energy, your own choices, your own role that you're playing, that's the only empowering way to move through the world. And as long as you continue to make it about somebody else, anything else outside of yourself, you are disempowered. You're giving your power away. 5 of Pentacles, you stay in this place of lack. 5 of Pentacles, Akahia, the forbearing God. Patience reveals secrets of nature, spreads knowledge and industry. And then we have again, the Knight of Wands came out again. Protection, prevents discovery of secret crimes, saves exiles. So there might be a lot of fire signs, okay? Getting to the point where they're like, you know what? I've been holding this in for a long time, and I'm tired of holding it in. And I also feel like I just need to get moving. I can't be held back any longer. And there's going to be a lot of fire signs like taking these actions to open up some pretty sensitive communications, I feel. Okay. You got to create the space for it to be safe to do so. And right after that, we got Knight of Cups. Ariel, the revealing God. Perception and revelation. Discovers hidden treasure. Reveals secrets of nature. Yeah, this is the thing. If we can hold, there's exactly what I was talking about with the cup energy to the fire energy. It's the tempering energy, and you have to understand if somebody's going to be coming at you, if they're very fiery, if they're argumentative, remember, they're probably feeling hurt. Okay. They're probably feeling hurt. So if you can create that space, but just don't fight fire with fire. Okay. Don't engage in the back and forth. Okay. Just hold the space. Hold the space and acknowledge the pain. You'll be amazed what can happen in a situation like that. Then you're gonna find, the hidden treasure there. Okay, it's that Kintsugi. It's like just because somebody like pops off, and you see the fracturing of what's gone down in this connection or this situation, it doesn't have to be broken. It's all about how you greet that brokenness. And if you can hold space for it, and there can be respect around it, and there can be receptivity and an understanding of, okay, I can only hold my part. I can receive this. And I don't need to be reactive. I don't need to personalize it. This is this person's experience. And it's important for me to acknowledge the truth of that. Then you can break on through to the other side of that, and you can find the treasure that's hidden in that experience. So it's really about us tempering ourselves. And yes, Five of Pentacles, Akahia, patience. Patience reveals secrets of nature, spreads knowledge in industry. It is about being patient in conversations. It's about taking the opportunity to just really listen deeply. Listen deeply. Don't listen with the urge to get your rebuttal, to say what you have to say, to get your dings in. True mastery in these communications is going to be all about holding that space, even when the other person is, really activated coming at you. And I mean, I think it's wonderful if you can set up parameters for communication ahead of time with people and say, let's practice nonviolent communication. Let's, take turns communicating, maybe, have something you can hold on to when it's that person's time to talk, like, a wand or something, anything like, okay, when you got this item, you're holding it, everybody else stays quiet, you get to say what you have to say. It's wonderful if you can do that, but not everybody coming at you is going to be able to do that. They're just not. It's not where they're at. And so it's going to be your job to not kind of go to the place of where they're meeting you, and instead maintain your own energy, and have some compassion and some understanding. The more that you can kind of just be curious and open to the experience, even when it's activating, the more that you'll be able to like get through the other side of that, and you'll discover that something beautiful can come out of this. Right? There's something that can be mended here. Connections can come back together, sometimes in new ways, sometimes in ways that are more beautiful than those connections were initially. And so that's something to be very grateful for. It's something to be very grateful for. Let me do a cut of the deck energy here, and then I think I want to get just a Halloween oracle card on this, and then I want to just talk just briefly about the course. Yeah, we got the moon. Gabriel, God is my strength, divine revelation reveals messages. Has the power to destroy. Okay, so there's the dichotomy there. All right, so we know we got messages coming forward. With that moon energy, these are messages that are things that have been hidden from us up until this point. So they're revelatory, right? It's somebody's taking the risk to take something out of the dark and expose it to the light. They're taking that risk with you. So right there off the bat, that should let you know that this person is taking a big risk to be vulnerable with you. All right. And you may not like what you hear. There is that piece. We know this. It has the power to destroy. If you receive it in a certain way, you don't realize how much you could bring harm to that person if you're very reactive and you attack them when they bring forward this truth. So I'm getting this big piece of compassion is what I'm feeling very strongly. There's really a need for compassion. Compassion being put to the test, and it's going to be hard because I think for a lot of you, these communications that you're going to be receiving, they're from people that really you felt really hurt by, and you have your own like heated emotions, you have your own stuck positions. And so this is going to be a bit of a challenge, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but Gabriel is the archangel of relationships. Okay. He helps with relationships, all relationships, getting on the same pages. And I think that if you're able to really hold this with that understanding that I have to be very mindful of the space I'm holding around these communications, no matter how the other person is coming at me, because I realize that if I'm not responsible in how I'm receiving what this person's communicating to me, that I could really do damage here. And that damage could be so severe that it's like, yeah, this is your opportunity. This is your opportunity for healing this connection, or this is your opportunity for you to finally stand up for yourself on the job and, maybe come to more equitable terms with your employer, or, or to finally, tell them I'm not going to work here anymore, and, sort of deal with the fallout of that and go your own way, pursue something different, whatever your situation may be. You have the power to destroy by the way you carry it out, by the way you hold your peace, okay? Because, like I said, if you're the one delivering a tower to somebody, you're speaking the harsh truth, okay? Um, you can do that in a way that's very empowered and that is very clear, but without being unnecessarily cruel. You know what I'm saying? Where it's not about getting digs in or getting even. So it's really that balancing energy that is so important with these communications, because really, the communications that come through right now, they do have the power to do real damage and burn bridges for good. And so while you may be getting the gift of this opportunity to heal this connection, and maybe some of you might not realize what a gift it is with some of the people coming through. But if you're able to like really stay centered and focused in that process, you'll realize the blessing that comes through it. I mean, that's just like Kintsugi, right? You know, the pottery shatters, there's pieces all over the ground. You think there's no way this thing can come back together and still be beautiful. But Kintsugi makes the brokenness beautiful. And there's something about what breaks on through this week, what cracks open, that makes you realize that hearts are never broken, they're broken open, and there's some kind of gift, there's some kind of growth, there's some kind of awareness, there's some kind of medicine that comes through that. And it wants to come through for you this week, all right? It wants to come through for you this week. There's some kind of revelation you're going to have this week. It's a spiritual revelation. There's some kind of message coming in, and be mindful about how you receive it, and be mindful of the peace you hold in that communication, because it has a lot of power. But if you, if you're mindful, look at what's on the other side of that. 10 of Cups, okay? Aiel, God, Master of the Universe, divine warrior, confounds the wicked, brings victory and peace, And really, the wickedness is this need to continue to stay in a place of fear, control, manipulation. I mean, control, manipulation, all of that, competitiveness. It all comes from fear. It's all the same trip, okay? But it's that desire to stay in the fear space, in that fear space, when love is being presented, that is what is wicked. All right. This is your star coming through. Vasaria, God the just, clemency and equilibrium, protects against attacks in the courts. Okay, some of you might be working out, some pretty heavy stuff. Some of you might be going through divorces, you might really have a hard time staying centered with some of the stuff that's coming up. But if you can stay in this place of equilibrium, and again, be mindful of how you're communicating, and understand that moving through something like a divorce is an extremely sensitive process. It's probably one of the most painful experiences you've ever been through. I know that I've been divorced. It's not an easy experience, and it completely shatters your old identity. It's like you feel so lost when you're going through a divorce, and you feel so activated, and all your vulnerability is at the surface. So as much as you're feeling that, understand no matter how the other person is coming off to you, if they're coming off very aggressive, they're feeling it too. They're feeling it too. And the more that you can hold this space, just really be mindful about your own energy and how you're holding it, even in cases like that, where you're battling something out in court. You're going to be able to protect yourself from things really going south. It works out, and we see with the Hanged Man coming in here in reverse that it moves things forward. You're not stuck at the crossroads, okay? Desire for knowledge protects from liars, evil spells, and bad spirits, It's only when we hold this up, when Hangman is in reverse and we hold this up, that we stay mired in all that negativity. We hold ourselves back. So this is just coming through very strongly. It seems like these communications are going to start coming in. Do be aware of that. Do look for signs of that starting to come in this week. Do what you can to focus on really learning how to hold space, how to stay out of judgment to the best of your ability, how to be present in these communications and not just keep bringing up tit for tat what happened in the past. I feel like that could really blow it at this point, because I really have this like imagery of like you're standing at the harbor and all of this healing and all of this sense of arrival, everything you've kind of been waiting for, is starting to come in for you. And it's like a one shot deal. It's like this isn't going to come around again. And I have this like vision of so many people just still like looking back at what happened and staying stuck in this place of, well, you did this and you did that because of that. I did, just being in that place of the blame game. And it's not that you can't talk about those things, but it's the spirit that you talk about it. It's not healthy to sweep things under the rug. And if things have been unaddressed for a long time, you might have to have a big airing out like that. But it still can't come from a place of blame. It's really just about owning how you feel in this situation. It's about how you felt. I felt unappreciated. I felt unseen. I felt I felt unheard. I felt angry. I felt betrayed, staying in your own emotions instead of just continually like picking apart the other person. And every time they bring up something where they feel like you hurt them, you have to come back with, well, but you did this. That's going to keep you looking back at the past and stuck in what was, instead of what is showing up right in this moment, which is this person is now in a place where they're ready to do this constructive healing work with you. And that's a beautiful gift. But if you're looking back there, those ships that are coming in, they're going to pass you and you won't get the opportunity again. So it's very necessary to just focus on that this week. Look at what's actually showing up. I think you might be surprised some of the people that are coming forward to communicate to you. Some of you are going to get communications from people you thought you'd never hear from again. I just thought that. And there's really a beautiful opportunity here, but it has everything to do with, you being receptive to it and understanding what an opportunity is. And some of you are you're delivering communications that have held you back for a long time. And it's like, you're going to realize how much you've been holding yourself back by holding that in. As soon as you let it up and out, you're going to feel so much openness, so much more freedom. It's going to feel like you're unburdened. And then from there, it's going to open up a new flow in your life. You're not going to feel stuck anymore. You're going to start seeing things move forward. And even in the situation, even with who you communicate with, I think a lot of you will be surprised. I think a lot of you have been just wanting to hear what these people have to say, right? Some of you have been waiting to hear their communication. You don't even care if it's not necessarily what you want to hear. You want to understand. And that's the thing that a lot of people aren't realizing right now, is there's a lot of people out there that are also just wanting the truth, because the truth does set you free. And there's a lot of people that would rather know the truth, even if the truth is harsh, because at least then they understand. There's an understanding, okay? And we got your ancestors are here supporting you through this. Ancestors, the love and legacy of our DNA. And so again, there's this piece of generational healing coming in this week about perhaps we're breaking some patterns of behavior that we have seen in our family lineage around how people deal with communication and relationship dynamics. And some of you will also be having a big healing within your family. Maybe there's been a rift within the family for a while. The family is coming together again. There's some like new growth, new understanding that comes forward from this. And I also feel like a lot of you are wanting to do things better. You're wanting to do things differently. You've learned a lot in your own life, in your own healing process, what can happen when there is this inability to communicate in healthy ways, because you grew up in a family where everything was swept under the rug, where nobody ever addressed what was going on, or where there were codependency issues, or people turned to alcohol or substances to sort of disconnect from what was happening, and with all of this secretiveness and everything that was held back within your family, you saw the damage that it created in relationships. You also saw how it affected you, and maybe even you carried forward some of these patterns in your own relationships and moving forward in your life as an adult. And now it's like you have an opportunity to unravel all that and drop that programming and open up to a new potential in your life. So this work is very important. It's up to us to be a break in the link of the chain. And I feel like you got a lot of ancestral support on your side. So that's been coming in for a bit now. Call on your ancestors, ask them to give you strength, ask them to give you support, ask them to give you guidance to help you out. And especially if you're dealing in situations where you're healing family dynamics, call on your ancestors to play a role in that. And I think you'll feel really supported in that. But that's what I got for this week coming in. It looks like communication coming in. Not all of it's going to be easy. Some of it is going to be shocking. Some of it will make you angry. Some of it will be a relief. It's kind of a mixed bag. I feel like no matter how it comes in, even if it's pleasant news, even if it's a relief, it still has that kind of tower quality to it that it's like, it's shocking. It takes you back. It's not what you're expecting. And when it comes in, it sort of sets off a whole like chain reaction of emotions inside of you. And there's this piece that just really wants to be reinforced about, ground out the energy. Don't speak impulsively. Listen deeply. Even if what you're hearing is hard to hear, hold a respectful space around it. And you do your best to, speak from your heart. And maybe this is a piece that you can bring in those communications that can help you remember that. Just put that left hand on your heart, put that right hand on top there, and just stay connected to your heart center as you're speaking your truth. And even as you're receiving what this person has to say, just to remind you, stay in your heart, stay in your heart. It's a really little thing, but it can make a big difference in difficult communications. Okay. But we see that though these communications are difficult, they're dynamic. Okay. And there's something that comes through the brokenness that allows you to put things together again in a new way, in a beautiful way, just like Kintsugi, right? There's some kind of gold that comes out of the lead of that experience if you have the courage to move into that dynamic place of alchemy with another, which means you really just have to stay within your own essence as you have these communications and understand with the activation you might experience from others that this is their truth. It's not in any way a reflection of you. This is where this person's at. This is what they are experiencing. And this is what they need to release because it's obviously been burdening them, and have compassion, Because sometimes that's the hardest thing of all. And I think it's something that people don't often look at, it's really easy to always have compassion for the person who was hurt, right? The person who was lied to, the person who was cheated on, the person who was abandoned, the person who was neglected, whatever it may be. But when somebody comes forward and they are that person who inflicted that pain or who told those lies or who did the cheating or did the walking away, the ghosting, the abandoning, and they're coming forward to come clean about that and have a communication about that. That takes a lot of guts and it takes a lot of courage. And try to step into that person's shoes just for a moment and really understand what it took for that person to get to that place where they would be able to look you in the eyes and tell you, I have something I need to tell you. I need to share with you. It makes me think of the movie. It was a book too. Dead Man Walking teaches a lot about compassion, you know, teaches a lot about compassion. And the more that we can evolve where we make it safe for even people who are quote unquote the outcasts of society, the assholes, the wrongdoers, the outlaws, whatever, the more we can hold space for people to have these cathartic experiences where they've obviously done some level of healing work, if they're ready to come forward and have this moment of confession and bring that forward. Um, it doesn't mean that you can't express your own anger to that person. I think that's an important piece of it too, right? It's an important piece for them to really see how that affected you, for them to hear your truth. But the more that that can be done in a respectful way, where there's compassion involved in the situation and there's an honoring of what it took for that person to be able to get to that place where they could own that, it's a lot. It's a lot. Think about the times when you've made a mistake or you've blown it and you had to own up to that and say you were sorry. And we've all had those points, right? We've all had those points. We've all made mistakes in our lives. Nobody's perfect. And wouldn't you have liked to have had a little compassion at those times? Have you ever had an experience where you made a big mistake and you had to, fess up and you felt really insecure about that and super vulnerable and you were really sorry and then somebody like was not receptive, right? That's a tough one. And I mean, it's understandable. It's understandable. I get it. It's understandable in some cases, okay? But there's something here about this situation that's coming your way. This is not a situation that's irreparable. This is a situation that there can be healing, okay? So there is a situation here that can be transformed. This is not a situation that this is like somebody you should block. They shouldn't be around you. This person is dangerous. You know what I'm saying? This is a situation that's coming your way, that this situation can be transformed with compassion, with respect, with clear, honest communication, and total nakedness. But that's what it requires. And that means it also requires you holding all those qualities within yourself, within this communication exchange. You do that, something really beautiful comes out of it. And there's a bringing the connection back together. And it might not look like what it looked like before. It might be more beautiful than it was. All right. It's about staying open to the experience. So that's what I have for this week. And it's interesting that this is coming in because we're on our final week of the Kapha reset. And the lesson we're moving into this week is receive. And it's all about coming into the softness of heart. It's all about breaking open the heart and moving into that place of total receptivity. It's about welcoming in that goddess energy, that divine feminine energy, and really just receiving the nurturing of that. It's a very, very beautiful week in this process. It's one of my favorites. We're also going to be bringing in this week the soul retrieval journey that I promised. I wanted to bring it in this week. I had thought for a while, when do I want to bring this in? And it feels appropriate. It feels appropriate with the lesson this week and how it's going to unfold and what I'll be bringing in. So do be looking for that to come in. I think that I'll probably be bringing that in either Friday or Saturday. All right. And it will be like a guided journey into soul retrieval. And so I'll just sort of be leading you through it, but you'll be calling your soul part back. And I'll be talking a little bit as well about returning soul parts and what that looks like. But usually you first receive your soul part back. And then what follows is releasing any soul parts that you're holding on to. And sometimes there's some space between that process. You may not be ready to do that immediately. you might need a little time to integrate the experience of calling your soul part back if you are going on that journey. We also know that some of you are going to be working with it in a different way. You want to connect with your ancestors, you want to invite them to come forward more, or you feel like you lost a certain aspect that you want to call back in, like your mojo or whatever it may be. So if you don't feel like you have a soul part missing, but you want to use it in another way creatively, you can definitely adapt it to that and make it work for you. But it's a very powerful experience, and moving into this place of softness and receptivity, I feel like that's the perfect time to work with that. So do look for that to be coming in. And yeah, I think that's about it. Go ahead and read that lesson if you haven't. It's lesson 6. And if you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, it is a free course called Kapha Reset, and it's on my website, cobrasmedicinebag.com. You go to the homepage, you'll see a green butterfly there with a little write up about the course. And right underneath it, there's a button that says free access. Just click that. It takes you right into the course. You don't need to give me your email. You don't need to sign up for anything. There's no cost. There's no sales pitch, nothing. It's just something I'm paying forward and offering to all of you so you can really be supported in coming into balance, mind, body, and spirit. And that's what my whole focus is here, is really just supporting people and stepping into their power, because I know that when people are empowered, that's when the magic happens. And that's when we can really start seeing some change in the world. Okay. So, any questions, anything that anybody needs to bring in relation to the course material while you got me here? I am gonna be coming on again later. I might also be doing some shorter lives this week, just because last week, the week before that, I did a lot of lengthy lives, and my voice has been going out on me. So I want to make sure that I'm preserving my voice too. And it was funny because this weekend, I had my 2 days off, but one of those days I got on the phone with my broad Jen Ray, and we talked for like 6 hours straight or something. And I was like, oh my gosh, my voice. I didn't get much rest for my voice. I have a lot of weight to lose. How long to ginger Rasayana? Can I add the switchel back in? Um, I wouldn't really. Yeah, you could do the switchel this week. Yeah, you could do it. You could do it. I wouldn't do it beyond this week. You could do the switchel this week, and then for the ginger Rasayana, you don't want to overdo it. Okay, so you can do the ginger Rasayana once a month for the next 3 months. Okay, and then stop and wait until the next I would say like fall equinox, you could do it again. It's good to take a break from it. There's like this point where it becomes ineffective if you just kind of keep taking it. So there's something about that. Got to give the body a little bit of a break from it. So I would say you've already done it once. I wouldn't do it again until May, but you could do it again in May, and you could do it again in June. I also would work with the tea at night. Actually, is one of the best things you can do if you're on a weight release journey. I like to say weight release, not lose, because the goal is that it don't come back. When we drop that weight, let's leave it there. Let's take that shit, throw it on the ground. We're not going to pick up that baggage again, because really, that's what the weight is, right? Those of us who have been on a weight release journey, we know that that's what it is. It's you're dropping the baggage, right? It's like all the emotional stuff that we've taken on, and yeah, it's a lot. Do be looking out for that too. It'll be a little bit, but sometime this summer I'm going to be releasing my book that is all about all sides of that journey, and it's my intuitive eating book, and it's based on a 10-month course that I did where I led a group of people through Ayurvedic intuitive eating and also just healing the relationship with the body. And it was really potent. Yeah, be on the lookout for that because I go into a lot in that book about the other layers that are involved in weight release, what that really is about. Nighttime tea, yeah, it's ginger, yeah, it's ginger in green tea with half of a lemon squeezed into it, and a teaspoon of raw honey. And you do powdered ginger in that one. You do half a teaspoon of powdered ginger, 1 teaspoon of raw honey in green tea with juice of half of a lemon. And you have it for 3 nights in a row. And then you take a break from it. And then you can do like you take 3 nights on, 3 nights off, 3 nights on, 3 nights off. And you do it at night and it helps the body's natural detoxification process. And if you want to just, kind of like give a little jump start to weight release, it helps with that. It helps specifically with around the belly. It really can get a lot of bloat moving and just have you feeling a lot better in your body. And it has stimulation for, Agni, the digestive fire. So it can be very helpful for that. But the ginger Rasiana, I wouldn't continue to do that. Let it work its magic. You know what I'm saying? And there's also the piece too. It's just like getting the sugar and the ghee in there and stuff. It's like kapha. Like you just don't want to overdo it. You don't want to overdo it because kapha can accumulate. And if you're trying to release weight and you're just constantly doing the ginger Rasiana, you know what I'm saying? Sweet taste aggravates kapha and definitely has sweet taste. And that ginger Rasiana, that's part of what makes it so yummy, but that can definitely help doing that green tea 3 nights a week and then taking 3 days off. And then you can do it again. So like once a week, you could do, 3 nights of that green tea. And that can be very helpful. That can be very helpful, but I think really when it comes to weight release, the best thing is changing your body composition. That's what gets the weight to start to let go. Just eating when you're hungry, really like eating when you have set hunger. And if you're not hungry, don't eat. And kind of like cutting off that eating earlier so your body can go through its detoxification at night. And changing your body composition, which means getting some strengthening in, change your muscle to fat ratio. That's what changes everything. It's not even about weight. I kind of like don't like the whole focus on weight. Weight doesn't really tell you anything about like where your body is really at. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really tell you anything about where your body is at. But change your body composition. Start to put on some muscle. Automatically, you're going to raise your resting metabolic rate, and you'll find that you can even eat more food. You might be hungry more often, and you'll still be releasing. And also, there's that piece about don't get into like tipping your calories low or counting calories or any of that nonsense because that doesn't work. It doesn't work. Then you set yourself up to constantly end up putting on weight. And people don't realize that. They don't realize that. It's like if you're going into restrictive calorie mode, you're really going to screw yourself. You might get the weight to come down more quickly, but you're also going to lose a lot of your muscle mass. And that's going to actually lower your metabolism. And so like the more weight you shed, the more you have to cut back what you're eating. And it's like not healthy. It's not a smart, sustainable way to do it. And that's not how I released over 150 pounds and maintained it for over 10 years. I took the slow route. It was all about my body composition. I changed my body composition. I ate when I was hungry and I stopped when I was full, And when I did have a day where like I wanted something like a hot fudge sundae or whatever, I had it, I enjoyed it, and then I moved on with it, because that was something I really learned from talking to naturally fit people who never had any issues with food. I highly encourage people, if you've struggled with, food and body image, and you've been on a weight release journey, if you know somebody who's just naturally always, been physically fit, and who just seems to have a very relaxed relationship with food, somebody who doesn't diet, never has dieted, talk to that person. Talk to that person. There's so much insight we can get from them about how they relate to food, because you'll notice they'll have things like they'll eat sundaes and they'll have cake, and, they'll treat themselves. But the big difference is they don't feel guilty about it. They don't beat themselves up about it. They're not looking at food in black and white terms and going like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that, or, oh, that was so many calories. They don't even think of calories, they just like they listen to their bodies. And if they do have something like some chips or, a piece of cake or whatever, they don't get attached to it. They're just on to the next experience. So, it takes time to really have sustainable weight release where your body also looks good. Okay, let's bring in the vanity piece where your body also looks good. Okay, because if you drop your weight too fast, you're also going to have like a lot of loose skin, and you're not going to have good muscle tone. But if you release the weight slowly, like I don't have loose skin. I don't have loose skin, and I dropped over 150 pounds, and I don't have loose skin, and it's because I did it very slowly, and I just lifted weights. Lifting weights is very helpful. If you can do body weight exercises too. But there's really something, if you have a lot of weight to release, there's something about lifting weights that it really helps all the connective tissues, and it helps keep the skin firm. So the earlier on you do that, the better off you are, and it raises your metabolism. So it just helps you bring yourself back into balance. I don't even have a scale. I don't even know what I weigh. Like I said, the last time I had weighed myself, which was like, gosh, it was like, I don't know how, like 10 years ago or longer, you know. Um, I had released over 150 pounds, and my body's changed even from that point. I've released more just by how I feel, the clothes I'm able to wear, but I have no idea what I weigh, and I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's like irrelevant. The more people that just got rid of their scale and just like really got into their body and listened to their body, the better off they'd be, really. It all balances out on its own. A couple years ago, the scale wouldn't budge, but when I put the clothes back on from the starting photo, I was aghast at how much my body shrunk. I was drinking ketones and walking several days a week. Walking's a great way to start, actually. It's really good. And I mean, it doesn't, I think that's a way people really hold themselves back too when they're on a weight release journey, is they go to this place where they're like, they think they have to like exercise so hard and, do all this crazy stuff. And it's not really necessary. I mean, just move, just move, and just eating when you're hungry, and if you can get some strengthening in, awesome, and that's the thing. Yeah, it's not accurate. The scale's not even freaking accurate. You can be really, have a low weight, and then being at a low weight doesn't mean you're healthy at all. And it doesn't mean you have a healthy body composition either. The light needs to come down now that the light outside is changing. Yeah, so you can definitely have that experience. I mean, it's never like really super, super significant. Sometimes people use that as an excuse. They're like, oh, it's just muscle I put on, but it's like, no. You've been snacking. But when you see the difference in your body size, when you're able to put on those smaller sizes, you can't deny that, just because the scale doesn't say there's a whole lot happening, doesn't mean there isn't change occurring, But I just stay off the scale. It's no good for me. I have a history of eating disorder though, so I don't go there, because I could go really like, I know that if I have a scale, and so many people know this, like that if you have a routine where you step on the scale, you start, having good or bad days depending on what that scale says. And it's just a demotivator. And there's like so many fluctuations that happen in the body on a day-to-day basis. And really, does it matter? Like, does it matter? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's kind of funny. I remember when I was a teenager, when I was a teenager, I weighed like anywhere, it would vary, like 125 to 145 pounds. Okay. And when I would be like 145 pounds, I always thought that that was just like I always thought that was so fat. And I'm like, I'm like almost 5'8". I'm almost 5'8". It's not. It's completely healthy. And then I remember there was these two girls. They were twins. They were twins, and they were really athletic, and they just beautiful, beautiful girls, and really sweet girls too. But they just had dynamite bodies. They were in just amazing shape. And I remember I was talking with them one day, and I was talking about how I needed to drop weight. And they were kind of like, no, you don't. You don't need to drop weight. And I was like, oh, yes, I do. I'm 145 pounds. I need to drop weight. And they were like, we're 165. And I was like, what? Because they looked like they were so much more like fit than me. You know what I'm saying? But I had this weird like distortion in my mind that I'm like, no, it's all about weight. No, it's not. It's all about body composition. And the difference is they just had a lot of muscle mass. They were really in shape, really in shape. So it's always just better to listen to your body. I don't know. Every person I've talked to that has released um, a lot of weight and has been able to maintain it off and actually be really happy, they all did it through just really getting in touch with their bodies and listening to their bodies and not like micromanaging themselves. I've seen a lot of people that have been able to release a significant amount of weight, and they've been able to maintain it, but they kind of go wildly fluctuate up and down. And those are people that usually do it with like calorie control and excessive exercising. But everybody I've seen that's been able to get off a big chunk and maintain it and just kind of be consistent, it's because they totally changed the relationship with food in their body. You know, they totally changed the relationship with the food in their body. Yeah. 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 I mean, it's all the programming. It's all the programming. There's so much influence on it, that comes in on that, you know. It's like if people just kind of got out of that. And I think the scale is really damaging myself. I wish everybody would just do like I did and experience the freedom of that and taking your scale and taking it outside and taking a sledgehammer to it and just smashing the shit out of it and throwing it away and never, never stepping on one again. You'll feel so much better about yourself. And the thing is, when you do that, you're no longer exercising to see the number change on the scale. I don't measure myself either. There's been times throughout the years, since recovering from eating disorder and after I put on all my weight during my recovery process, there's been times throughout the years that though I stopped weighing myself, I would experiment with measurements, and I realized that that doesn't do any good either. It's just I got to just listen to my body, and it's evident when you're getting in shape and when you're really, you'll see it. Your face looks different. Your body looks different. Your clothes fit different. You start needing to get smaller sizes. I mean, you do not need to track it that way, and it's crazy making. It's crazy making, and it's not accurate, and it does a lot of damage to people because then when people are exercising, they fall into eating disordered behaviors and they don't even realize it. They don't even realize it because then it's like, okay, let's say you've been going along great. You've been eating food that you really enjoy. You're feeling good. All your important numbers are improving, like your blood pressure. Your cholesterol is low. Everything that really has to do with health. Okay, is on point. You're finding that you're performing better with your exercise. You're doing exercise you really enjoy. You feel like you're in a flow with it, and you're like, yeah, and you got your confidence. You're feeling good, and other people are like, wow, you really look like, you're getting healthy. Like you look so good, you look really radiant or whatever. And you're feeling really positive about it. Okay. And then you step on the scale and you're like, what? I didn't drop anything. And then all of a sudden, what do? You start tightening up your food. You start restricting your food. You start doing more exercise and it stops feeling good. It starts feeling like a chore. it starts feeling like difficult, really hard, right? And then you're just like, you're back to square one. Then you rebel because you restrict, and then you eat more food, and then you put on more weight, and you're back to the beginning again. So, yeah. All right. Well, I think that that's about it. So go ahead and read that very last lesson, those of you who are going through the Copper Reset course. And I'm going to be on in just a little bit here. I'm going to do the Ophiuchus Spring Fever Wild Card Love Read, and then I'll be on tomorrow with a live at some point for our final week of the Aries Point. You go by inches, not pounds. Like I said, I used to do that. I used to measure and then I stopped. I used to measure and I stopped. I would do it every now and then. I was like, told myself that it was different than weighing myself. And it's not. It's not. Because if the same thing would happen, if I didn't see like the inches going down at a rate that I thought they should be, then I lost my flow and my enjoyment of what I was doing. And then I would like start feeling crappy about myself. It was like, no, I just stopped. And now it's just so much more pleasant because as I just move along on my journey and I'm taking good care of my body, like my choices about the exercise I'm doing are coming from the place of what's feeling good to me. Like I'm able to have more of an authentic experience with my body. I'm not doing it because I'm doing this exercise because this will make me lose more inches. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing it because no, this feels good and I'm enjoying this. And that's wonderful, just to take care of my body like that. And part of me had to move out of this place too of like wanting to have a certain result. Like I had to kind of come to a place just in my own I can only speak for myself, but in my own personal journey and everything I've been through with it, I had to come to a place inside of myself where it was like, okay, Shannon, well, what if your body just stays as it is right now and it never changes? Does that mean that you don't deserve care? Does that mean that you shouldn't eat foods that make you feel your best? That you shouldn't ever exercise? I mean, your health is important. And so once I let go of the goal and I was just like, okay, I'm just going to take care of my body because my body deserves this care. I deserve this care. And I feel better when I'm taking care of myself. Then all my choices around the exercise I was doing and the food I was eating and all of that, it was all stemming from a place of I'm doing this because I feel good when I do this. This feels good. And that's a very different place to come from in terms of exercise and the way you're eating, all of that. And it's also sustainable. So I don't even bother. And then it's just lovely because every now and then you're like, oh my gosh, these pants are falling off of me. I need to get a smaller size of pants. And then there's no need to track it. It happens naturally. That's been my experience. But if you're curious about that whole process, like I said, sometime this summer, I'm going to be putting out a book. I'm going to put it out on Amazon. I'm going to self-publish, and it's going to be my 10-month intuitive eating course that I did, and I'm revamping it into book format. So you'll be able to get that at, a really reasonable rate, and it's a totally guided experience, much like the whole Copper Reset courses, that everything will be mapped out with weekly focus and all of that. And it can be very, very beneficial. So, all right, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I'm going to get a little break here for just a moment, and then I'm going to dive into that Ophiuchus Spring Fever Wild Card Love Read. So be on the lookout for that. And I hope you have a wonderful night and keep that heart open as these communications come in for you starting this week. All right. Take care. Thanks for dropping in with me. I appreciate all of you. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, okay? Help a broad out. Help me break this algorithm and get these messages out to more people, because there's a lot of people out there in the world that need this kind of support. But if they don't get to see me come up in their feed, they might not ever have the chance. So I want to get these Ayurvedic courses out to more people and get that out to them. So if you're tuning in, if you like what I bring to the table, and I know there's a lot of you that do, because in my analytics, 85% of my repeat viewers are not subscribed to the channel. So help me out. It only takes a second. It's free. It's free. Take care. I'll see you all tomorrow.